Yes, Gaelic Gridiron TV episode 4. Joining me all the way from Georgia is Mr. David Shanahan. David, how are you?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
Dave, you're at the end of your, I suppose, your freshman year now in Georgia and
Yeah,
in the college football Division One level. How has your experience been? What's it been like?
it's been great. Definitely. Some ways, I suppose, it's kind of exactly what I expected. Some ways, it's you get a lot of curveballs as well. But so our season ended there last month. So we're into spring now. But yeah, it was pretty intense. It's a whirlwind, but it was great fun. Yeah.
And have you gotten much time off, or are you straight back into spring training with the spring game on the horizon?
So our last game was Georgia, which was like the end of November. So
Hmm.
we had a couple of weeks there off. I went home for Christmas and stuff, and we are kind of back into workouts now next week.
I suppose the Georgia game would have been the end of season traditional rivalry game.
Yeah.
So how was that, and what was it like playing against the eventual national champions?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, our season didn't really go as well as we'd hoped it to go, and obviously Georgia was number one in the country. So yeah, I mean, it was class. It was that's obviously our rivalry, but I mean, would have liked it to have been a bit closer than it
Yeah.
was, but I mean, yeah, just
So speaking of your season there, I think you guys finished 3-9 on the season. So
yeah,
obviously not an ideal scenario. Is a
yeah,
better record one of the big goals for next season, or what's the agenda?
yeah. No, I think that's everyone's goal. Just win more games. I mean,
Yeah,
I think our record probably isn't totally representative of how good we actually were. Because I think we had a lot of close games that could have gone either way.
yeah.
We just didn't really get much luck, so you need a bit of that too.
I kind of want to bring up one of those games that wasn't so close. You can kind of tell that I'm a bit of a Notre Dame fan,
Yeah,
and I was actually at the Notre Dame game where you guys played in Notre Dame Stadium. What was the atmosphere like at that game? I mean, Notre Dame Stadium is one of the premier stadiums in college football. So, what was
yeah.
that like for you?
No, that was like a movie. Honestly, it was so cool, so cool. My parents were actually at that game as well. That was the
Oh,
first game I went
fantastic!
to. Yeah. Nah, even like especially I found when it got dark, it was
Yeah,
like the whole stadium was full of green under the lights. It just looked really cool.
yeah. I think we're after losing the video there.
Oh, sorry,
No, you're
my
fine.
bad.
It's just the internet. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So uh, Notre Dame obviously is one example, but in general, how do you find the atmosphere of playing in front of 80, 90, 100,000 fans on a constant basis? And what is the overall atmosphere like in those stadiums?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, our first really big game was Clemson. That was week
Oh,
three.
well.
So
Yeah.
we had two home games. We had NIU then Kennesaw, and then going to Clemson was just crazy. I remember when they were running down the hill, and you just feel the ground shaking underneath
Yeah.
you, and you can't even hear yourself think. But then kind of when you're going out there, when you're actually punting, it's just you just kind of forget about it, to be honest, because you're so focused on the kick. Um, it's all kind of white noise, to be honest.
Would you find it easy or hard to kind of to block out the noise and just focus on what your job and getting yourself mentally prepared for your game?
It's like anything. The more you do it, the more you get used to it. It's probably at the start, I was probably just so nervous. I didn't even have time to think. But then once you get a little bit settled, so I find like once you can get a little bit settled, you can even get kind of a bit more complacent. Not that complacent, but you kind of have to bring yourself in more to kind of focus more. Especially as the season drags on, you just kind of get fatigued and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like anything. You just have to anticipate it, and then once you get there, you just kind of just be ultra focused on what you have to do.
Yeah,
And then like
absolutely.
once you run off, then you can kind of take it in. Once you're in the sideline, but once you're in the moment, you just kind of have to lock in.
Once you're in the moment, it's just kick the ball and get every element of the point right and get it off, and
Yeah,
that's the most
yeah,
important thing.
basically, yeah. I mean, like you take into account things like if you go out there, see if it's a bit windy. That's probably the biggest thing you kind of look at. But yeah, you kind of have your own. I had my own little process. Like you go out, you look, then you get the call from the guy in front of you. So it's just yeah.
And does every punter have his own process? I know from talking to Ben Kiernan recently, he actually kind of alluded to how technical a punt is, and there's lots of moving parts. It's not just a case of going out there and swinging a boot at the ball. I mean,
Yeah.
there is a lot actually involved in the whole snap and kick and even corralling the ball.
Yeah, no, there is. Like, probably the most important thing with it is like operation time. So you've like so operation time for most punts is probably around 2 seconds. That's
Okay.
from when the ball is snapped to you kicking the ball, and a long snap is about 0.75 seconds.
Okay.
So it's really quick. And I mean, we had one against North Carolina blocked, but it was because kind of our off time was a little bit slow, and it was kind of like, so if you're kicking right, your protection pocket will be right. So if you veer a little bit left, you're nearly getting blocked. If you take too long, you're in danger of getting blocked. So it's a technical process. You just kind of have to know what you're doing.
Yeah. I didn't realize how technical it was. You know,
Yeah.
you're watching it on TV, and even you saying there that the optimal operation time is 2 seconds. I mean, now that you think of it, it is a quick enough process.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is. You only really appreciate it when you're in it, or when it goes wrong. Then you kind of realize.
I suppose you'd have to have a pretty good relationship with your long snapper then as well to make sure you guys are on the same page.
No, I'm really lucky as well. My long snapper is really, really good. He's a senior as well, but he's got another year. So yeah, no, that's definitely really important. Same with like field goal holding and stuff. You get into a rhythm with the same guys.
Yeah.
So that's really important.
I mean, the field goal holding is an element of the punter's job that not a lot of people really think of. So are you typically the placeholder as well for the field goal?
I wasn't this season just because I kind of got in. I didn't get into June, but next season I hopefully will be. Yeah. Yeah, it's another skill into itself. Yeah. Pretty. Yeah.
So you mentioned it there. Your arrival at Georgia Tech was delayed due to the pandemic. You were meant to start in the 2020 season.
No, it was meant to go in January as early enrollee.
Okay.
But just because everyone got an extra year because of COVID, so they just didn't have enough scholarships left in January because of capping scholarships as well. So I just had to come in June. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Okay, so it hasn't really impacted on your eligibility or your playing time or anything.
No.
Okay, great. So I can't help but notice the tricolour hanging proudly there in the corner of the room. Glad to see you representing over in Georgia. But you know, I can imagine it's been a bit of a culture shock for yourself, maybe coming from Kerry to kind of metropolis Atlanta. Like, how's that whole transition been like, or has there been any kind of big things that have jumped out of you that are different between the States and Kerry, or have you been?
Yeah, I mean everything's different really. I was in Melbourne the year before this doing pro kick. Melbourne's a pretty big city as well, so I kind of got all the whatever homesickness out there. But yeah, I know it's definitely it's a hugely different culture. Even like the America has a different culture in itself. Then you go into the South, there's even more culture with like trucks and mullets and country music and all. But
it's a subculture all in itself.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I love it. And even like you go to the football locker room with guys from everywhere. There's a lot of personalities and a lot of different types of people. So it's fun. I really enjoy it.
And have your teammates gotten a kick out of having an Irish guy on the squad?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think they've exhausted every potato and leprechaun joke.
Yeah, you'll get that. So I suppose one of the kind of some of the buzz around college football at the minute is you're one of 3 punters who are currently playing at the Division 1 level from Ireland. Do you see it becoming more mainstream in the future with Irish guys going over to play at the college level, be it at kicker or punter or even at different positions? Do you think that you guys have kind of opened the floodgates, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I think the talent's definitely there, and the base for kicking a ball is obviously there. It's more just the process of actually getting a scholarship. It's not that easy, and there is obviously a blueprint there, but I mean, you look at the Australian guys. I mean, Australian guys come from Aussie rules. It's really similar sports, obviously Gaelic football and rugby. It's kind of the same kicking motion, and they're all over college football now.
Yeah,
punters. So I 100% think it could be. Yeah, it's just a matter of making a pathway for Irish people to get over there.
Yeah,
because as you said, like, I mean, you talk about a technical punt is you can't really just rock up and rock on when it comes to punting. You really
Yeah.
have to like learn the skill and hone it. And there's an element of trust that comes with it too from American coaches. I mean, you look at Pro Australia, they've got they probably have 60 guys playing Division 1 football now, but it didn't happen overnight. You know, they've been doing it for 15, 16 years. So it's kind of gradual. Yeah.
Yeah, so you took, I suppose, a bit of a non-traditional route to punting at the college level, whereas, you know, the likes of Daniel Whelan and Ben, they would have been, their families would have emigrated to the States. They would have been ingrained in the culture and would have probably played at the high school level. You had to go a more circuitous kind of route through Pro Kick Australia. So do you think that will be the way forward? Or can you see being something similar being adapted here on this side of this side of the world, you know, for prospective UK and Irish kickers and punters to go over?
Yeah, I know Pro Kick have been looking at setting up kind of a base in Ireland or England. Because one of the main guys there is John Smith. He's actually from Manchester.
Okay.
But obviously there's a global pandemic, so
yeah,
kind of nobody's getting out of Australia. So that's really kind of hampered it somewhat. But I mean, guys are kind of making it work. There's a guy called Jude McAtamney. He's a kicker. Me and him kind of went over to America there last January, and he was kind of doing Pro Kick over Zoom, I guess.
Okay.
He's never been to Australia. He's at a D2. He's at a D2 school now kicking. So there's definitely a route there, but yeah, obviously Pro Kick could set up a base, you know, this side of in the northern hemisphere.
It would definitely make it more accessible, I think. Anyway, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, another thing you kind of have to look at is there is only a limited amount of scholarships with kickers and punters. I mean, Division 1 school will give out one scholarship every 4 years to a punter. You know?
Okay.
So there's a lot of competition for those spots as well. So I would say it would have to be a very, very solid base.
Yeah, punter isn't exactly a priority when it comes to, like you say, the limited number of scholarships.
Yeah, I mean, most 90% of schools will have one punter and one kicker on scholarship.
Yeah. So what kind of pearls of wisdom, now that you've been through the process and you are established in Georgia Tech, like what kind of advice would you give to any young kickers or, you know, hopeful punters and kickers here on this side of the Atlantic, hoping to make the jump and get themselves in at a D1 school?
I mean, you can't really work hard enough. It's probably the thing I would say. It's a really difficult thing to train by yourself. But I mean, if I was the kind of thing you have to do, you just kind of have to be really patient because it takes a lot of time before it kind of starts to click.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm welcome to anyone messaging me on Instagram or whatever, Twitter. I'm always free to give them a hand if you want to send me any videos or me critiquing their form or anything. But as I said, I mean, I think in the next year, I think Pro Kick will probably get to Ireland next year, hopefully. And they'll have a camp for you know, they're probably here for a week or two. So that'll be something for guys to work towards as well.
So you're kind of saying just if they started the process, if someone started the process and has that dream, just to keep at it, because like you say, you really can't work hard enough.
Yeah, basically. I mean, yeah, pretty much. I mean, the process of actually learning to kick is one thing, and then you have the process of actually getting someone to look at you while you're kicking is another thing. But you
might have the skills, but getting noticed and getting your tape looked at is a different story.
It's a different ball game. But I mean, you just got to get there first, I guess. Got to get to the level where you feel confident enough where you can showcase your skills.
It must have been a pretty surreal moment when you played against North Carolina this season, or last season, I should say, to have two Irish kickers on the same field. That must have been pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious. That was in the Benz as well, in the Falcon Stadium.
Oh wow,
it was class. Honestly, just kind of hearing another familiar accent. No, it was really cool, moments. And best thing is we play each other every year, so we've 2 or 3 more of those. We're going to North Carolina this year. So,
that was. I have to say, like when I saw that online, it showed me how far that this country has come in terms of American football. You know, the fact that you guys are over there representing Irish, you know, players abroad, but also the homegrown sport. Like, it's fantastic to see.
Yeah, no, it's perfect kind of intersection between Gaelic football and American football is punting football. So it's kind of It's the crossover.
Yeah. So with the inclusion, I suppose, of Cincinnati this year in the college football playoff, the first time that a group of 5 team has ever been included in the playoffs, and with the prospective future expansion of the playoff field to maybe 12 or even 16 teams. And I don't want to put you on the spot here, so you don't have to give me an answer if you don't want to, but can you see Georgia Tech competing for a college playoff spot in the near future?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we definitely have a lot of really good players, and we got a lot of really good coaches. As I said, it's such a tough thing just to win one game of football. Even like so much goes into it, and the margins are so tight. So you really just kind of, we didn't really get a lot of luck this year. We had some injuries, we had some things that didn't really go our way. So I'd be really confident we'd be really good this year.
Georgia Tech actually played in Dublin a number of years ago against Boston College. From your perspective, how cool would it be to be playing with Georgia Tech in Dublin in your kind of home country? And do you think that's something that is feasible in the next couple of years while you're still at Georgia Tech?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be class. Obviously, that'd be unreal. But I honestly have no idea what the whole process with that regard to that is. I know our athletic director was in Dublin last time they played, so I've no idea about it. But that would definitely
you can start putting a quiet word in his ear.
Yeah,
get me a home game before we finish up here.
Yeah, we'll get out to Clarity and play it in Fitzroy Stadium.
So speaking of the future, like, so you're a freshman now. I mean, you're going to be starting your sophomore season. You're realistically going to have at least 3 years at the college level before, and in the case of most punters and kickers, they do stay out the full length of their scholarships for like 5 years, 6 years. Like, do you see yourself going to the NFL? Is that the dream, the overall dream, or what's the kind of plan for the future?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's everyone's dream, especially at a Power 5 school. I mean, you're surrounded by so much. Like, one of the things that's really cool over here is, like, even the coaching staff, like, you're surrounded by former NFL players. Like, even yesterday I went to our facility and there were a bunch of like potential first round draft picks just training in our indoor.
Wow.
So you're kind of surrounded by the whole NFL culture the whole time. So it doesn't really seem as far-fetched now as it did maybe 2 years ago or whatever. But really, I'll just kind of focus on getting better. Like, I'm literally just focusing on spring ball. Like, we start spring ball in 6 weeks.
Okay.
So I'm just starting to get ready for that now. So I think it's kind of like incremental. You just kind of have to take it in small chunks.
Yeah.
And get a little bit better.
I'd say even the practice, even spring ball, I can imagine is hugely competitive. Because there's guys coming for your job every day. I'd say.
Yeah, no, there is. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, it's so much preparation. It's not like just going training back home. It's really like it's half a day. Practice is half a day. Really, you get in at 6, you don't get out till 12. So it's and we have a spring game at the end of it. So it's a big deal. It's something you have to prepare for.
Yeah. But look, listen, David, thanks again for joining me. It's great to finally catch up and talk to you. And look, all the best for the future. And good luck with spring ball.
No, cheers. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Thanks.